Coping with job loss is kind of an easy presentation for me. I've been there, done that, so to speak. And I think a lot of people face issues when they lose a job. And let's just kind of get into it because a lot of what I'll talk about tonight is really about the positive mental attitude that you need to develop. A couple of quick things here. Number one, I've been a volunteer out at the McHenry County Workforce Network since 2010 and doing regular webinars, actually in-person events pre-COVID. Since then, I also have a blog. I have a podcast channel, and I do these presentations for other job clubs and libraries as well. Now, just for today, I think Matt will be sending out an email that will include a link to the deck, or he'll actually send you the deck. It's only about 5 MB. He is recording the session and will make that available on YouTube, I believe. And I like to think of my sessions as being interactive. So if you have an experience or you have a question or something comes up in your mind, feel free to speak up or at least send a chat to Matt, and then he can interrupt me and we'll try to address that as it occurs rather than waiting till the end. I don't like to hold questions to the end. So please speak up. Now, what went wrong? You're out of a job. You were let go for no reason. Well, there was some reason. It 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 could have been simple budget. The bean counters are looking at the quarter 3 financials and saying, "Oops, we got to save some money." Maybe it was teamwork. In fact, I know somebody who was recently their position was eliminated. They were there for way too long and making way too much money for the work that they were doing. Companies downsize. And of course, if you think back 4 years ago when COVID, at the height of it, companies were failing left and right. So there were a lot of reasons why you became out of work. But the main thing I think you need to keep in mind is that it happens for you, not to you. Now, sometimes, and this may be hard for you to grasp, when you were let go, somebody else wasn't. And sometimes that individual has survivor guilt. It's like, well, why did they let her go? Or why did they let him go? Why am I still around? And I can think back to 1995 when there were 4 regional managers in Chicago and Bloody November came around. And I looked around afterwards and I'm the last manager in Chicago standing. The other three, they're reporting to me. So sometimes things happen for you, not to you. Keep that in mind. But this is a time where you can actually stop and reignite your passions. What is it you really like to do? Maybe you've been in the job for 5, 10, 15, maybe even 20 years, and it's like, I was doing it, but it didn't really make me happy. It was really work. Because if you can go to a job and it feels fun, it's not work, it's fun. So sometimes at this point, you need to think about out of the box. It's like, what do you really want to do? And what can you do? Combine those two, and you come up with something that you can get excited about rather than, oh, I got to go into the office or, oh, I got to go make a service call. And I think one of the things that is most important is that positive mental attitude. And one of the things that I think is very appropriate is even though you may be out of a job, appreciate what you have. You have a roof over your head, you have a car to drive, you have a supportive significant other, whether he or she is really close, supportive, but there are other people around you that want to help. Maybe you've got a rainy day fund. Um, Appreciate the sunshine, especially if it's 0 degrees outside like now. So be grateful, appreciate all of the things that are in your life. Now, once you walk out of that job for the last time, there are different stages that you actually go through. And of course, the first one is kind of like denial, isolation. You're all alone. Uh, Maybe HR said, "Hey, come on down to the conference room. We've got some donuts for you." And you go there, and yeah, they got donuts, but a big box of Kleenex right next to it. And so you, you, I didn't do anything wrong. I was doing my job, but it's a normal aspect of losing your job to wonder, why me? Sometimes there's not an answer. Luck of the draw, and maybe that's not luck, except the old statement, if it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all. The next stage of job loss is anger. You're angry at yourself. You're angry at the company. You're thinking, oh, why didn't I see this? Or maybe you think, oh, I saw this coming. I just didn't expect it. I should have done more. I should have got my resume ready. Well, it's okay to be angry at yourself, but get over it. It's something that happened, and it's time to address that and move on. And sometimes another stage of that is bargaining and desperation. Bargaining. Well, I could work for 10% less, or I could work for 20% less. What about job sharing? Could I go part-time? But take the resolution and situation and again, move on with it. The desperation aspect of it is jumping in to the job search without planning it out. So if you lose your job on Monday and you start applying on Tuesday, you're jumping in a little too quickly. Of course, unless you have a former boss that says, "Hey, I need you to work with me," then that's a different story. But again, it's planning. Depression. It's not unusual to be depressed. A lot of people feel that way. They're shocked. They're unable to even get out of bed in the morning. So it's even more important to embrace those routines, getting up, showering, having your coffee, your tea, your oatmeal, whatever, and going about your business of job search, planning things out, making some steps, inventory, and we'll get into some of those steps and stuff. Some individuals are stuck in this stage and never get out of it. Um, and I think this is especially true for males more so than females, and maybe that's just gender bias. But I've known of a couple of guys who just can't get past it. Uh, Case in point, I've got a great former direct report and coworker who got let go. 30 years later, he still holds a grudge against our old boss. It's time to move past. And then the final stage, when you know you've overcome it, you've accepted it, and you're finally moving on with your job search and making an impact. Any questions so far? So this is a little um, venue here that I'll talk about. It's vision. And vision is so important in what you do on a day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, throughout your life. And it's important to have the full vision, the full picture, if you will. Think of it this way. I'm walking down the street and I see a guy laying bricks. What are you doing? He replies, well, I'm building a wall. Oh, okay. I can see that. So I went further down the corner, turned it. Well, here's another guy building a wall. And they ask him, what are you doing? He says, well, I'm building a wall for a church. Oh, okay. So now I've got a little bit more understanding about what this individual's doing. But I continue walking, come to the corner, make another turn. I'm like, lo and behold, here's the third guy. He's laying bricks as well. Well, what are you doing? Well, I'm building a wall that will be part of a cathedral where people will come and worship and have a sense of community in the years to come. So all three of these individuals were doing the same work, but they had vastly different visions of what they were doing. And I think that that's important to keep in mind as you go through your job search, the vision of what you are really doing and seeking. I'm going for a job. I'm going for a career job. I'm going for a job that'll be enriching and I can make a difference and be happy while I'm doing it. Okay, starting your job search. It really begins with understanding what you're bringing to the table. A self-assessment, whether you take something like the Strength Finders 34, or there's the High Five test. Matt may also be able to guide you with some other online assessments through the library and stuff. But really identifying your skills, strengths, and interests, maybe even doing a SWOT analysis for yourself. If you're not familiar with the SWOT acronym, it stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So once you understand what you've got to offer, what kind of job are you looking for? Is there a specific industry or a work environment? You only want to work remote? Well, yeah, those positions are kind of drying up a little bit. There's a lot of hybrids out there. And one thing that you want to do is set goals for yourself. And we'll talk a little bit more about goals later on, but really set realistic and specific career goals. Now, once you've done your assessment, you know what you're bringing to the table, update your resume and your cover letter. Um, and you want to tailor your resume for the roles that you're targeting, you're applying for. Do not, I repeat, do not in capital letters send the same resume out to every job application. Your odds of achieving a callback are slim to nil. You want to relate relevant skills, experience, and achievements on your resume. You want to avoid those duties included or responsible for kind of statements. That doesn't tell the reader anything other than what you were supposed to do, not what you did. And every time you apply someplace, you should have a cover letter. Now, a lot of people worry and have anxiety over cover letters, but let's apply the KISS principle. Keep it short and sweet. It shouldn't be more than a half a page, a couple of paragraphs tops. In fact, Andy LaCivita talks about the four-sentence cover letter. It can be done that easily. And I don't have the polling created, but just maybe send Matt a note. Do you know about applicant tracking systems? So send Matt a note. Let's try and get a poll going, Matt, and just see how many people, yes, they know about ATS, or no, they don't have any idea.
Awesome. And sounds good. While people are doing that, we actually have a question that
Okay.
came in on um, it's on resumes and balancing effort and time. So if this individual would like to unmute, feel free to go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, I have a question in that I'm a very thorough person and I have a resume and I have cover letters tailored to, various sectors and I do edit those based on the role. But I'm getting a lot of mixed messaging on from various job coach type people on, one person is like, you're not sending out enough, applications. But then, like you said, it takes time to search for a job. And then it also takes time to tailor a resume. and I'm trying to find the sweet spot here because I feel like I'm kind of under scrutiny because I'm applying maybe 5 to 10 jobs a week.
Okay.
And, I guess I kind of feel like if I'm at 4 months of a job search, should I start targeting just particular sectors?
Not necessarily. I mean, and let's be blunt. You hand a resume to 10 people, you're going to get 12 opinions. So, if you've been out in the workforce for less than 5 years, you get one page. If you've been out there 6 years or more, you get 2 pages. So
Right.
if you feel compelled to like keep it to one page, ignore that. The
No,
the
I don't think it's the resume as much as the targeting. And,
okay.
I think what I have done, and hopefully other people, if they're comfortable, they can weigh in on this is, I'm applying to jobs, I'm doing a very quality job on the cover letter. But what I have failed to do is have the self-confidence internally to send somebody a message in LinkedIn or via company
Oh,
email and say, I'd like to follow up, because I don't want to seem pushy. But one thing that I have noticed is when I've gone to job fairs or I cold called directly, I got wonderful feedback.
yeah, yeah. I will tell you that those individuals that follow up are kind of the squeaky wheel, and they're going to get oiled. You'll get the attention, and you've already seen that at the job fairs and the other isolated calls.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
don't be.
I went to a job fair last March and I was completely in complete shock. I had a recruiter reach out to me in December and say, I have been waiting to contact you. I finally found a role, you know.
Yeah. So the
But
one question on customizing your resume, do you do any kind of the ATS simulators like JobScan or Cultivated Culture? Do you use any of those?
yes, and I started this process last September, although I'm transitioning back in the workforce full time after being a longtime parent. And I have changed my resume. And I would like to commend the job coach because he's offered me some great feedback. So, yeah, I am getting past the ATS. I do know that.
Okay.
But I think what space I figured out I am in is I'm literally just sitting there in the pile. So I'm not getting an automatic rejection, but I'm literally sitting in the pile for weeks.
Then,
And what I don't see happening is necessarily getting interviews after sitting in the pile.
yeah. And again, I'll go back to what you talked about, following up. After several days, send them a message through LinkedIn. Make sure that your settings are correctly so that they see that you're looking at them or that you're following the company and stuff like that. There's a whole list of actions, be assertive.
So let's talk about the different layers of communication, how you can approach it. Okay. So, would you err on the side of a smaller firm calling directly and saying, I just want to confirm that this job is posted and it is still, active and live? Or would you say to contact someone through LinkedIn, or C, would you contact them through a company email?
Wow. It all depends upon the company. A smaller company, I'd probably call. A larger company, I'd probably even call the HR and say, hey, I'm just trying to figure out where you're at in the candidate selection process. I applied. I haven't seen a rejection notice come out. So I'm looking forward to maybe speaking with someone. Who could I maybe talk to?
So literally call someone and call the firm and say that.
Yeah, literally.
Oh, okay, so this is the larger scale employers. I'm not going to name names, but there's a large investment advisory firm
Uh-huh.
that I'd like to work for. And they have a central national recruiter for, say, the Midwest. And her name and her email address and her LinkedIn is on the site, but I just don't feel like based on the firm culture, I should
Okay.
reach out. So what do you
I
think about larger scale employers, the big guys?
Yeah, I don't want to spend a whole lot more time on this, but one of the things I would do is look to see what LinkedIn group they are in, and I would join that group and reach out to them via LinkedIn that way. Especially if they've made a post or something, talk about that. Maybe an informational interview, although I hate that phrase, but that's what you want, is to find out more about the organization and how they fit in. So I think that's it.
Great. Yeah. Little feedback from the poll that we have. Yes, a lot of people are familiar with applicant tracking systems. Some do not like them, which I understand it is. It has made the job search more of a game, is what I like to call it now. But we did have another question that came in too, and it was about your initial slide of going through the 5 stages. Is
Okay.
there an average time frame of how long it takes to go through all those 5 stages? Um, I have an idea, but I would like to hear what you think too, Bruce.
I don't think there's an average. It's like, well, how much does a house sell for in Chicago? Um, the timing and the amount is so vast you couldn't even begin to guesstimate. But, some people, I would think a couple of weeks to a couple of months. I mean, I can remember going through a mock interview with someone who had been out of work for a couple of months, and through the mock interview, I finally had to stop and say, "Hey, look, you've got to drop the chip on your shoulder because every response I'm getting from you is like so negative because you feel like you were let go for no reason. But in reality, there was a reason. You just don't know what it was." So I'd say an average time, a month to 2 months. But again, there's those guys and gals that never get over it.
Mhm.
So
I was kind of of the same mind. I was like, I mean, they are the 5 stages of grief as well, and we all grieve in different ways. So I would say it's probably the same way too. But
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much, Bruce.
Yeah. So this last line on this page, the Arlington Heights Library has had Dennis Curtin speak on better resumes for applying online. And Dennis's presentation, I think, is on February 19th. It's online. And he will cover those applicant tracking system simulators and really help you understand better the formatting that can really impact getting through the ATS systems and stuff. So there's a hyperlink, the HTTPS LNKD dash or dot N slash GTVHZKT2M. And again, Matt will be sending this out to you as well. So you should have that link or just go to the library. And thank you, Matt, for being so understanding. But Dennis is a great source. He also facilitates the Holy Family Job Club that meets on Saturday mornings in Inverness. So good stuff. Now, one of the things that you want to do when you're starting your job search is to optimize. It's so important to research and connect with people. A lot of times, 60 to 90% of the jobs that are found through networking. And, when you start your job search, yeah, you get your materials ready, you got your resume, you got a cover letter, you got your profile, but develop a strategy. Set a schedule for yourself, whether you're, you know, a goal of applying to 10 different companies this week. But again, you've got to do the strategy of, is it a good fit? Don't just send off that 10th application because it's part of the goal. Make sure that it fits. And you may have to look at multiple job boards. I'll push LinkedIn first because that's primarily where I would go. But I've had other individuals say that Indeed, they've gotten more response out of ads from Indeed. And of course, Glassdoor, and there are many others. I probably should put ETC there. But again, also explore company websites. And if you've been out of work for a long time and you really want to get back in the game, go to some of your local staffing agencies and look for maybe a part-time gig or a temp position with them. That can be helpful. And a lot of times, those temp positions can turn into full-time employment. Now, I know with unemployment, you're supposed to track where you go, but you definitely want to customize that application or resume when you apply to a company and track where you're going. You submitted an application at this date. At the end of the week, you want to call and follow up with the HR department, or maybe you don't have a phone number, send an email, but you want to keep pecking away at things and following up. And of course, once you start putting out those resumes, you need to prepare for interviews as well and practice common interview questions and answers. You can Google things. And of course, today with the um, influx of AI, take ChatGPT or Copilot and say, hey, here's a job interview, here's a job description. What are the 20 top questions I'm most likely to be asked in an interview? And then what are the answers if you don't know them? So there's a lot of research you can do. And of course, when I talk about practicing, I'm not just thinking of what you're going to say in your head, but actually vocalizing them so that you develop the muscle memory, so that your breathing, your lips and tongue, your vocal cords, and your mind are all engaged and they've prepared responses to these questions. It will be a much better interview when you go prepared. If you try to wing it, you'll still be in the unemployment line. And of course, anytime you have an interview, even if it's the pre-screened phone call, hey, you sent off your application, they're interested, they want to know if you can talk and chew gum at the same time. Well, have your answers ready, but also have a few questions ready for the person. Is this a new job or is it replacing somebody? What happened to the previous individual? What are you looking for in as a top skill for this individual? Is there a salary range that has been budgeted? And of course, sometimes is the position even budgeted for? So, because sometimes companies will start looking for people and not even have the budget approved yet. And of course, once you have an interview, it is imperative that you show appreciation. Thank you for your time and consideration. Send a thank you note. And of course, I'm a big believer in a personalized handwritten note. Now, that doesn't always work, but if you're going to the local office, pull off after you've left, debrief yourself, write down some of the questions that you were asked and rate your answers. How could you have answered better? And at the same time, pull that box of thank you cards out of the glove box that I recommend carrying around. Write a short, couple of sentence handwritten note, find a local post office and put it in the mail. That little card will make a huge difference. And of course, you can always follow up with an email as well, a thank you email later on that day or even the next morning. You don't want to send it out within an hour of your interview time. Um, and it's okay to call after a few days. Do you have any additional questions? Is there something that we maybe talked about that had a lingering question in your mind? But it's important to stay positive and persistent throughout the process. And sometimes that's difficult. But again, go back to one of the first slides we talked about. Be grateful for at least five things every day in your life. Could be your significant other, the support that you receive. It might be the sun shining. You had a great breakfast. So it's really important. I can't stress enough the mentality that you need to adopt. And it doesn't get any simpler than success comes in cans, not in cannots. Now, I had a direct report, same guy who was um, still holding the grudge 30 years later, probably still holds it pretty good. He gave me this years ago, and it's like, wow, this is good. But what are the ingredients in this can? Commitment, courage, faith, goals, imagination, creativity, honesty, persistence. Persistence. Yeah, the nose to the grindstone, and you keep pushing, pushing, pushing. That's important. And of course, having a sense of a humor and a positive I can do attitude. So great, great little message there with that kind of thing. All right. Any new questions at all, Matt? Anything out there lingering?
Let me take a look real quick.
Okay.
Nope, we just have some comments about your last slide with maintaining motivation, and that's kind of a pain point, as well as that positive persistence.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think one of the things that I probably don't have in here is that even though you're in job search, and a lot of times people will say, looking for a job is a full-time job. It can be. But what's really important is for you to take me time, just time for yourself, whether it's going to Starbucks, grabbing a cup of Joe, and sitting and reflecting on all the good things in your life, to going fishing, uh, doing some chucking and winding. Even if you don't catch a fish, sometimes just being out there with the sun in your face, being near the water, or what other things may help you or inspire you. Now, um, I'll call him Bill. Bill was a great employee and he was always motivated. And he listened to different motivators like Zig Ziglar, W. Clement Stone, Vince Lombardi. Um, Maybe I should move him to the front since I live up near Green Bay now. Malcolm Gladwell has written lots of books. But it's important to surround yourself with positive influencers and really to avoid and eliminate the negative ones. And there are people that we deal with on a regular basis. There's the upbeat people that we really love. And then there's Debbie Downer, who sees the negative side of everything. And that is the individual you really kind of need to distance yourself from. And that's important to let their advice go in one ear and right out the other. Think of it as the glass is half full. I tend to be an optimist and say the glass is not only half full, it tastes really sweet. Now, in keeping along with a positive mental attitude, here are three hyperlinks. The first one is making a decision. It's about a 5-minute video. The second one is the importance of persistence. And this is Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. I'm not going to play the entire 5-minute video, but I want to set that stage for persistence. And then lastly, the hyperlink to Jack Canfield's YouTube channel. But let's give a listen to Jack talking about the first couple of seconds of the importance of persistence.
Jack Canfield, and today I'd like to talk to you about the importance of persistence and how your ability to persevere in the face of any obstacle is the key to your success in life. And one of my favorite quotes comes from Calvin Coolidge, who once said, "Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. Now, this quote is so powerful because it's true.
And that's all I'm going to play. But again, driving home the importance of persistence. Let me tell you about Bob the Builder, former neighbor of mine. He wanted to get in at IKEA. He had an accounting degree from University of Illinois, did it for a few years, didn't like it, didn't like being stuck in an office. So he moved on to being more of like a apartment building supervisor for a number of buildings. But then as years progressed, he wanted something a little more stable, a little more structured. So I helped him with his resume, talked a little bit about, some of the different aspects of job search. And then what made Bob special was his persistence. He had a goal of working at IKEA and he kept applying. He would get interviews. There's a few different IKEA stores in the Chicago area. And eventually, after about 5 or 6 months, he saw another ad. And over the course of time, he'd actually developed a relationship with one of the HR individuals in the home office, like I think it was in Pennsylvania. So he called this person and said, "Hey, should I put in for this?" And she said, "Oh, no, Bob, here, let me just click on this and put you in." And that's all it took. He ended up in getting a couple of more interviews and got hired and is still out there at the Schaumburg IKEA. And if you go in and ask for Bob the Builder, he's the one who actually puts together the furniture and stuff that goes on display. So they will know who you're referring to. But it's persistence, not taking no for an answer. In fact, one of the things that I'll just briefly mention here is Andy LaCivita has a short video that talks about, oh, you got the rejection letter. Well, send a post-rejection letter that says you appreciated the time and consideration, but also keep me in mind for other positions as they may appear that are relevant to my skills and background. Good stuff. Now,
So can I just follow up with a question quickly?
sure.
Mr. Bennett, so
No, no,
if you
no, 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 no. Let me correct you. Mr. Bennett's my dad. He's no longer with us.
okay.
It's Bruce.
So I don't there's social cues, and you try to be, as diplomatic as possible and read those social cues. So do you find that if you're applying to a national organization and if you get rejected once, so you think you should go back, and apply to the same role multiple times if it comes up? Because I mean, eventually you're sending a message that you're interested in the organization, because there's a
Yes.
lot. So you don't find that necessarily to be a negative.
No. And again,
Thank you.
let me come up with a little illustration. One time I did a resume review with a guy named Jim, been an IT guy for 4 decades. He had applied to IBM, and I showed him about, JobScan and a couple of the other simulators. And he said, "Well, can I fix my resume and reapply?" I said, "Sure you can." He had gotten rejected initially. After he revised his resume, he ended up in getting 3 interviews. Now, he didn't get hired at IBM, but he definitely made that positive step and kept pushing forward. Does that help, Melissa?
Yes, because it all comes down to persistence. And
Exactly.
I mean, and I think that what I used to do for a living required an immense amount of persistence and diligence. And I feel like I've completely gone the other way, probably based on my social strata. And I live in an area that is very polite and diplomatic. And it's just, it's not a corporate dog eat dog environment. And in some
Yeah,
ways, I feel like, you have to get that persistence and, almost put yourself back downtown again. Not to use that analogy, but that's, there's a
yeah.
mindset when you work in downtown Chicago, depending on what you do.
Understood. Been there, done that. It's a long train ride from Fox Lake to Union Station. All right, PMA. Can't stress it enough. Now, Wayne Dyer here has 5 lessons to live by. It's a long video. Again, I'm just going to play the first minute or so. But I think it's important to change the way you think, and the way you think will change. And, not to point a finger at Melissa, but I think this might be a revelation for you that you need to be a little more assertive. You need to follow up more. And yeah, we all want to be a nice person, but at the same point in time, you need to be assertive enough to say, I'm somebody, I'm important, I can help your organization. You need to pay attention. So let's give a listen to Wayne for a minute here and stuff. Oh, oh man, how do I get rid of? Oh, oh, oh. Let's, uh, you're not letting me. This little bar. Oh, there we go. We just got to hit the OK button. All right, let's give a quick listen.
When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Albert Einstein once observed that the most fundamental and major decision that you have to make in your life is this: do I live in a friendly or a hostile universe? Which is it? Is it a universe that is filled with hostility and anger and people wanting to hate each other and people wanting to kill each other? Is that what you see? Because when you see the world that way, that's exactly what you will create for yourself in your life. This is from great scientific minds. And the interesting thing is that this is not just a clever play on words, that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. I'd like you to imagine the following scene. You're in your house.
I'm going to stop here at this point with this video because he gets into a story. Makes sense, but I want to get back to what he's talking about the hate and everything. And when I was previewing this earlier today, I couldn't help but think of Minneapolis in the situation that's going on up there. And not to avoid any kind, and actually to avoid political thing. There are two sides up there. And there is one side that is looking at it in a positive thing. It's drawing all the people together. Watching some of the news over the last few days is how the mindset of Minneapolisans, have really drawn together to support one another and to be there to help their neighbors and such. So again, I think it's that changing the way you think and the way you think will change. And I know those individuals up in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, have a very positive outlook despite some of the outrageous activity that's taking place. Enough said. Let's move on. Now, for those of you in the McHenry area, you might recognize Heman Water Conditioning. They're a firm that's been there for 3 generations now. And I like to talk about them because Joe, the owner, started Positive Wednesday. And so they gather in the shop on Wednesday morning, and everybody has to talk about something that's positive in their life that's taking place. One guy was happy he's finishing his education for a plumbing license. Matt was looking forward to taking his siblings out for dinner. Um, Somebody's excited to go on vacation. So again, the mindset of being positive. is really an important aspect of your mental state. And I know from my own personal experience, it's not easy to stay positive when you're in job search day after day, week after week, month after month. You know, and just from my own personal viewing, 2025 was really one of the toughest years, probably as tough as back in 2009, 2010, after the housing bubble burst. A lot of people were out of work then for months and years. The good news is over the last 5, 6 weeks, I've started to see I'm starting my new role on LinkedIn. I've seen a lot of them. So maybe companies are finally saying, okay, this is the way it is. We've got to keep moving on. Let's get some budget going and get some hires going. So it is kind of cyclical. It's a pendulum that swings back and forth to the employee, to the employer. Well, I think it's still on the employer's side, but it may be swinging back to employees. But I can tell you just from my observations, there are a lot more people that are landing in the last several weeks than I had seen for the last several months. So it really does become self-confidence. You need to visualize yourself in a positive light. I can do this. I always remember about how one of my coworkers, who was a field representative at Nielsen Ratings for a while, he was in the right place at the right time and had a positive insight. Oh, I can do that job, as he was meeting with a couple of other people. And sure enough, he ended up in getting that job in a week or two. And he became a zone manager, basically managing half of the country. So when you can mentally prepare for situations, that interview, that phone call, even a networking meeting, meeting somebody for coffee, doing an informational interview, wanting to learn more about their company and what they do at the company. In muscle and mind memory, it's just like Rizzo going to home plate there in the friendly confines and hitting a home run out into the left field. Well, it didn't just happen. He practiced. He practiced over and over again. And you can do the same thing with some of your answers and some of your questions, your statements. Uh, you know, and of course, one of the things that you're most likely going to run into during an interview is tell me about yourself. And if you hem and haw, or you ask, do you want to know about my personal or my professional life? You've already failed the question. So you need to be prepared. And of course, one of the best things for your soul is to laugh, to be able to laugh with others and even at yourself. Now, I think we're doing okay on time. I'm actually going to play this full video here, how to be more confident. I kind of waffled about playing it. It's a little dated, but I really like it because I think that he goes on to an extent that makes it easy for everyone, even the person who is shy, to be more confident.
How can you be more confident? Well, I've got a confession to make. About 10 years ago, when I was just starting college, I had no confidence. I couldn't raise my hand in class. I couldn't talk to women. I felt awkward in like every social situation. But let's contrast that with who I am now. I make these videos and put them on display for tens of thousands of people. I can walk into any room, talk to anyone, meet anyone, and have a great time. I can speak about my ideas, my projects, my business with unwavering confidence. How did I develop this confidence? Well, I'm Derek Halpern, the founder of Social Triggers, the place where entrepreneurs and executives go to learn about influence, marketing, and more. And the answer might surprise you. I'll never forget this. It was the summer between freshman and sophomore year of college, and I finally was fed up with my lack of confidence. So what did I do? I faked it. I would think, how would a confident person act in a situation just like this? And I would act just like that. Seriously, I wasn't a confident person, but I pretended to be confident. And after an entire summer, I actually taught myself how to become confident. Now you probably have one of two questions. First, does this really work? The answer is yes, and I've got some interesting research to back it up. And the second question is, Derek, I know how confident people act, but I could never act that way. What can I do? Well, I've got a simple solution for you as well, so keep watching this video. First, let's talk about the research. As Amy Cuddy revealed in her remarkable TED Talk, your body changes your mind. Now, I recommend you watch her full TED Talk when you get a chance because it's awesome. But for right now, here's the gist of it. When you hold a pen in your teeth like this, you feel more happy. Why? Because you're forcing a smile, and that smile tells your brain you're happy, even if you aren't. The act of smiling makes you feel happier. You know what? Try it right now. Put a big, cheesy smile on your face. I'll wait. Amy took it a step further, too. She discovered that when you assume a power stance like this, for 2 minutes, your body releases testosterone and you feel more powerful and confident. So smiling makes you happier, assuming the power stance makes you feel more powerful and confident. And this is why faking confidence for an entire summer helped me become confident. Just like Amy Cuddy said, my body changed my mind. So I know your body can change your mind too. Now this leaves us with one question. How can you pretend to be confident when you don't know how to pretend to be confident? I'll tell you exactly what I did. I practiced, but I only practiced when I had nothing at stake. I'll explain. As an example, every time I would walk up to a cashier or a server, I would take that opportunity to pretend to be confident. I knew they were paid to be nice to me, so I thought, why not practice on them? I'd walk up and say, hey, how are you? And I'd begin to make small talk and speak as if I was the most confident person on earth. I'll tell you exactly what I said to them in just a second. But this practice was essential. And soon I became comfortable with pretending to be confident. And that allowed me to pretend to be confident in almost every other situation. Then I noticed as the summer progressed, I was no longer pretending to be confident anymore. I was just confident. Thanks, dude. So if you're working on your confidence, here's what I want you to do. The next time you're talking to a server or a cashier, pretend to be confident. What exactly should you say? When the person ringing you up provides you with a bill, just say, wait, it's not free today? And put a big smile on your face. You'll laugh, they'll laugh, and everyone will have a great time. And that positive feedback will put you one step closer to being confident in social situations. Now I have some homework for you. No matter who you are, whether you're the most confident person in the world or you're struggling with confidence, today I want you to go out and talk to a cashier and use this line that I shared with you today. I want you to say, wait, it's not free today? Then I want you to come and leave a comment on this blog post and let me know how it went. Now I have a request. Do you have a friend or colleague that's struggling with their confidence? Send them a link to this video. They'll thank you for it, and I'll thank you for it. I actually included a link right below this video that you can click to make the sending much easier. And if you like this video, subscribe to my channel so you can get more videos just like this and bloopers. When you're holding a pen in your teeth like this, how can you be more confident? Well, I've got a confession to make. About 10
It's good. It's not that good that we have to listen to it again. But I've actually used that line and have gotten plenty of laughs from the cashier or the waitress or waiter and stuff. And again, that's part of being positive, enjoying life, having a laugh, and feeling more confident. Being able to speak up in almost any situation. Standing in line at the grocery store. I used to use stand in line at the bank, but I'm the only person that ever goes inside the bank to make a deposit. So, but wherever, sometimes those little situations can be a networking opportunity that you never would estimate or guess could end up in being a good fit for a potential job. So be confident in speaking with people. Might be at your children's school, might be like a program, and you're sitting next to a couple of other parents, just to have a casual conversation. Be light, be friendly, be positive. Okay. Again, the smile. And one of the things that um, he talked about was posture and body language. You know, taking a big deep breath, shoulders back. You, you know, it can definitely have a positive impact on how you feel. And the same thing, especially in an interview setting, is you want to be aware of your body posture, sitting up straight, not fidgeting, having your hands folded on your lap, or maybe clutching a pen that you're making notes with. Speak confidently. Um, People in the East Coast, especially, tend to talk very fast. And it doesn't work when they're talking with somebody who is more of the Southern culture of our country, or even the West Coast. People are a little more laid back. And of course, with goal setting and achievement, when you set goals for yourself, that helps build your self-confidence as well. And it doesn't have to be a huge goal, just even a minor goal. I'm going to send off 3 applications this week. I'll send off 3 next week. Well, the week after that, maybe I'll send 4. But again, it's part of what's out there. Maybe there aren't 3 job applications that are worth applying to. So do away with a bad habit. What's a better way to give yourself some more self-confidence? Maybe you have a habit of snacking, or maybe biting your nails. Any number of different things that you can do to help you feel better about yourself and such can really be helpful in your day-to-day life and in your job search. Now, goal setting, it's really important to use a SMART goal approach. It has to be specific, it has to be measurable, it has to be attainable, it has to be relevant, and it should be timely. 5 great conditions for a SMART goal. Let me give you an example. Years ago, a career coach that I was interacting with said, set a goal for yourself to have a job by a certain date. Oh, I thought, yeah, that makes sense. Let's see now. If I give myself plenty of time, I'll have a job by my wife's birthday. Yeah, that's the ticket. So it was very specific. It was measurable. It was relevant. I was searching for a job and it was timely. Yeah, I gave myself a couple of months. But what was missing? Was it realistically attainable? No, it wasn't. And when her birthday rolled around and I didn't have a job, my attitude took a downhill slash into a deep depression. Fortunately, I covered myself back up, pulling up the bootstraps after a few days. So again, make those goals SMART. And of course, subsequently, talking with other job coaches, that was horrible advice to set a date. And of course, with goals, apply the KISS principle. Keep it short and sweet. Don't have a page-long goal. That's too much. But measure and celebrate your successes. You've got a goal. I'll send off 3 job apps this week, 3 next week. I'll have a pre-screened phone call by the 3rd week. And you get one, you're going to feel real good about yourself. So achieving goals one step at a time can be very impactful and boost your confidence. Last video. And maybe you've seen this one, but it's well worth a listen.
Basic SEAL training was a lifetime of challenges crammed into 6 months. So here are the 10 lessons I learned from basic SEAL training that hopefully will be of value to you as you move forward in life. Every morning in SEAL training, my instructors, who at the time were all Vietnam veterans, would show up in my barracks room, and the first thing they'd do was inspect my bed. If you did it right, the corners would be square, the covers would be pulled tight, the pillow centered just under the headboard, and the extra blanket folded neatly at the foot of the rack. It was a simple task, mundane at best, but every morning we were required to make our bed to perfection. It seemed a little ridiculous at the time, particularly in light of the fact that we were aspiring to be real warriors, tough, battle-hardened SEALs. But the wisdom of this simple act has been proven to me many times over. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better. So if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed.
Okay. I really like that video. I think it's important to understand that sometimes the little things add up to bigger and bigger things. Okay. Now, as you start your job search, another tool that you can develop is a portfolio. And that could be a little notebook. It can be even like a little manila folder, or, even a pocket folder that, maybe your child or grandchild takes to school. But you can stuff that with lots of different things. It could be a 3-ring binder. Examples of your work, spreadsheets, memos, proposals, presentations, graphic designs, new marketing initiatives, features and benefits page, photo op. Maybe you staffed the booth at a trade show, and such. You could compile a list of your accomplishments, being promoted, being recognized for this project, being recognized for that project. Letters of recommendation. Years ago, companies, when you'd left, would usually write out a letter of recommendation. Well, today that's kind of gone digital. If you're on LinkedIn, there are recommendations there. There's nothing stopping you from taking and printing one out and putting it in a portfolio. Instant recognition of your capabilities and worth as a potential employee. If you've been in the military, recognize the service and contributions to your country. And that is very valuable, especially if you're applying to usajobs.gov or other government institutions, like at the county level, or even the township, and even municipal sometimes. If you have certificates or a degree or special licenses, those are other documents that you can include. Transcripts from college or even high school, or continuing education credits that you've received from different classes, or maybe volunteer activities. A lot of times, people who have been in extended care situations with a elderly parent or sibling. I have an older sister, that's why I keep saying elderly sister, elderly sibling. Maybe it's some of those volunteer activities too that you've done. But volunteer activities can be a way to bridge that, coming back from full-time parenting or coming back from an extended caring situation for that relative and stuff. Skills that you have that you demonstrated in a volunteer basis. even thank you notes from vendors or clients, uh, recognizing the efforts that you do. And again, of course, other things that you could throw in the portfolio or the photos, a completed team project. Yeah, you had the pizza party. Woohoo. Yeah, but you celebrated an achievement. Now, a lot of times when you leave a job, you might be ushered out the door quickly. You may not even get a chance. So did you leave something behind, like maybe some business cards? Well, you can always go to Staples or Office Max Depot and get yourself some new business cards with your contact information, your specialties, maybe a little icon and such. Oh, hey, you left a coat or a sweater. It was your favorite sweater. It's the one your mom knitted for you. You got to get that back, right? A favorite coffee mug. Who doesn't take one of their favorite coffee mugs to work? Man, I really wish I had that back. Oh no, I left a photo of my granddaughter on my desk. I got to get that back. An umbrella. An umbrella or a dime a dozen. Well, actually, they cost a lot more today, but do you need an umbrella? Well, you might have a rainy day, which leads us to, did you leave some money behind? The 401k? Yeah, you might have. So what are you going to do with that? Well, you got some options. You can withdraw it all. But if you're not 59 and a half years old, you'll pay a 10% penalty on top of the money that you draw out. Um, Now, there are hardship withdrawals possible, and details in this article, which I was shocked to see, was just updated in January of 2026, um, talks about some of the possibilities. So, unless you're at that retirement age, it's better to either leave that money there with the company vendor or take that money and roll it over to an IRA. Schwab, Fidelity. Fidelity has a lot of my money, and they've been very, very good to me. Um, so you do have options. Back in 2009, 2010, I was hearing people who had, rolled over their 401k, but because it was such an extended period of unemployment, they were drawing it down. People were worried about being able to make the next mortgage payment. It was a bad time. So, have you budgeted before? If not, you better learn. You might have some severance package or some other income that can help keep you afloat. Otherwise, unemployment isn't going to do much, but it will help with some of your monthly expenses and stuff. So money matters. Um, and I can say that even with a couple of unemployment times in my career, we managed very well. I was lucky. And again, if I had to say something, I'd say persistence was one of those key factors in me gaining employment. Now, this page is geared towards the McHenry County Workforce Network. This is actually a hyperlink to their website at the top of the page. Here is the career workshops and services brochure for February. And if I click on that, it opens up this particular piece here, which lists a lot of the different services and functions. Here you can see that there is personalized job search assistance. You can get a resume review, a mock interview, or you can have someone review your LinkedIn profile. All you need to do is just email that professional directly to request a review. You don't need to live in the county. Now, here is a list of my upcoming events. In February, I'll start off with resume, cover letters, and applying online. The following week, guide to a winning interview. And then on Wednesday afternoon, on the 11th, I'll facilitate the Network to Success Job Club. The topic du jour will be artificial intelligence for job search. And then we'll have a short networking session afterwards. And then the following week, LinkedIn for your job search and advanced LinkedIn strategies. Two separate presentations. There is a little overlap, but LinkedIn for your job search is very basic towards the job search process. And advanced LinkedIn strategies covers some of that ground, but it's also more about being active on LinkedIn, posting activity, doing searchings and settings, utilizing the LinkedIn mobile app. So you're welcome to attend or sign up for any of those. And this is a hyperlink to my webpage that has an actual link. Or the other thing too is here in the brochure, there are links to all of those different meetings and such. And with that, that concludes tonight's presentation. So feel free to follow up with me or with Matt. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you're on LinkedIn, if you haven't already. And just so that you see it, we'll go to my profile real quickly. And if you'll notice, there is not a connect button when I look at it. When you look at it, there won't be a connect button either. However, let's see. You see these three dots here? Anytime you see those three dots on a page, there are additional settings. And if you look at my page and you see three dots or you see more, that's where you would click on to connect with me.